Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about how artificial intelligence is finally growing up. It's moving out of this kind of magic show phase and into a whole new era of serious, trustworthy engineering.
I mean, for years, we've all been captivated by the magic of AI, right? It seems to reason, to create, to understand things. But what is really going on under the hood? Is it actually thinking, or is it something else entirely?
And for a good while, it really did look like it. There was this technique called chain of thought prompting that was just astonishingly convincing. It really made it seem like these AI models were thinking through problems step by step, just like you or I would.
So, okay, let's dive into this apparent breakdown. We're going to pull back the curtain and see what was actually going on with this so-called reasoning.
The idea behind it was brilliantly simple. All researchers had to do was add a little phrase like, let's think step by step, and they could get a large language model to show its work. And the outputs? They were incredible. It looked for all the world like a logical, human-like thought process, breaking down a big problem into smaller pieces.
But here's the catch. New research is telling us this isn't real reasoning at all. It's actually a super sophisticated form of pattern matching. The AI is just brilliantly mimicking the reasoning patterns it saw over and over again in its training data. And that means the whole thing falls apart the second it runs into something it hasn't seen before.
So when does this whole illusion of thinking just completely shatter? Let's take a look at the exact breaking point.
This is where the magic trick gets exposed. See, the illusion is perfect as long as the AI is on familiar turf. But the very moment, you test it on something that's even a little bit different from what it was trained on, well, the cracks start to show.
And this really shows you the limits. When a problem is in distribution, which just means it looks like the stuff in the training data, the AI does great. But give it something out of distribution, a new task or a weird format, and its performance just falls off a cliff. That's the proof it wasn't really reasoning, it was just playing back patterns it already knew.
Now, this fundamental problem actually has a technical name. It's called domain adaptation, and it is one of the biggest hurdles in all of AI today, figuring out how to get a model that learns in one situation to be truly reliable and effective in a new one.
And this all leads to a really crucial point. We're seeing this massive shift across the entire field. The goal isn't just to make AI that seems magical anymore. It's about engineering AI that we can genuinely trust.
I mean, that's the core question, isn't it? To build real trust, we have to stop just looking at the final output. We have to figure out how to crack open that black box and see what's actually happening inside during training.
Well, there's a groundbreaking new technique called Data Shapley that's helping us do exactly that. You can think of it like a microscope for the AI's learning process. It lets us see, for the very first time, which specific pieces of data were helpful and, maybe more importantly, which ones were actually harmful, all without having to do endless, expensive retraining.
Seriously, this kind of visibility is a total game changer. It means we can build safer, better datasets by weeding out the harmful or biased stuff. We can finally understand where a specific skill came from. It even helps us make training way more efficient by focusing only on the data that really matters.
So this focus on understanding what's inside the model is part of a much bigger story, an industry-wide push for real accountability and safety.
Check this out. Organizations like the Future of Life Institute are now basically giving out report cards, publicly grading the big AI labs on how seriously they take safety. This isn't just for show. It creates a race to the top because no company wants to be at the bottom of this list. It puts real pressure on them to prioritize safety, not just speed.
And a huge part of that grade is whether these companies have strong, clear whistleblowing policies. Think about it. The employees building these things are often the first ones to see something scary or dangerous. A good policy is a critical line of defense. It makes sure the people who can prevent harm aren't afraid to speak up.
And you can see there are levels to this. A company can have zero transparency, or it can go all the way to not only making its policy public, but also sharing data on how it's working. That highest level, that's where real accountability lives. It proves you're actually doing what you promise.
So, what this all adds up to is a really fundamental shift. The whole field is maturing, moving from a mysterious art to a disciplined science.
The initial wow factor, that awe we all felt, is giving way to a more sober, clear-eyed understanding of what this technology is and what it isn't.
Yeah, we're finally getting past the idea of AI as some kind of all-knowing oracle. We're starting to see it for what it truly is, an incredibly powerful tool with amazing capabilities, but also with very real, very important limitations.
You know, history has taught us this lesson again and again with powerful new technologies, whether it was the steam engine or nuclear power.
These things demand discipline. They demand standards, transparency, and a relentless focus on safety and reliability if they're going to be a net positive for all of us. And that, right there, is the question that's going to define the next chapter of AI. The whole conversation is shifting from just raw capability to provable trustworthiness. And that's not just a trend, that is the future of AI engineering.